8, 9, maybe 10 years old is when I started playing the drums, but it was later that I would actually play them and stick with them. Okay. Again, there wasn't like a significant event that made me want to play the drums because I was just so young, but just being that my family, especially my father, had been a musician ever since that I can remember. So he would always be performing on the weekends, and in addition to that, he had his own music store. So always kind of being around that and being around musicians and being around musical gear, drums, guitars, saxophones, trumpets, amplifiers, all that stuff. It just seemed like a natural progression for me to end up getting into music and playing music. Well, at Berkeley, being that I think it's still to this day, it's the most culturally diverse school in the world. I think it still is. Being that it was just a culture shock for me, when I got past that, it was great. I got to study with people from Japan, with people from Croatia, with people from Uganda, with people from France. I mean, it was just a crapshoot. You never knew who was going to be in your class, where they were from, whether they could speak English, or if they could, to what degree. So the language barrier was very difficult, but interesting because we were all there to speak one language. So when we got into a room and we're making music together, you kind of forgot that everybody comes from different backgrounds. So that part of it was great. I got to meet a lot of interesting people from a lot of different backgrounds and a lot of different disciplines. I've had a couple good experiences with a couple groups that I started playing with at Berkeley. It's a group called Fiber. Hip-hop, kind of an organic acoustic hip-hop group. And we had an MC, and he also scratched records, and he's on to bigger and better things now, so it was nice to have that experience with him. We played a lot of big shows in Boston. Played at the House of Blues, played at Bill's Bar in Boston. It's great places to play. I would probably say that I enjoy playing rock and roll the most, just because that's the music that I grew up listening to. Mostly that's the music that I feel that I have an identity with, just the rawness of it, the aggression in it. Not that I'm an overly aggressive person, but for some reason when I play music I like to express that a little bit more than I would in my daily life. So I like to play rock and roll more than anything, but it's not just the genre, it's the musicians that I play with too. So it can be, the genres can kind of change depending on who I'm playing with. So I can really want to play jazz if I know it's going to be with this guy or this girl. Or I can really want to play blues if I know it's going to be with this person. So I think the musicians really have a lot to do with what genres I like to play with, because certain musicians bring out the genres in their truest nature. There's a lot of new up-and-coming drummers that I really like. But being that I went to Berkeley, I got to study with and get to know a lot of drummers that are really making their mark on the scene right now. There's a guy named D'Anthony Parks, whom I really like. He did some work with a group called Kudu out of New York City. I also like Bill Stewart a lot, jazz drummer out of New York City. Really dig him. I like a guy named Jorge Rossi. So probably unknown names to a lot of people that don't listen to jazz and don't go to New York City that much, but those are the guys that I really pay attention to. But I had spinal stenosis, which is narrowing of the spinal canal, near where, and the lower back where all your nerves are kind of connected. So for some reason I was born with that, and it just ended up getting worse and worse, and probably because of lifting gear in and out of trucks and bringing gear into clubs and lifting drums and amps and speakers and not using my back and legs properly, probably contributed to that more. So one day I just felt the sharp pain, and it never got better, it only got worse. Had to have surgery. After the surgery I was in a lot of pain, but the recovery was pretty quick. I had a really good surgeon that did my surgery. So the recovery actually only took, the recovery to the point where I couldn't work, and only took about a week and a half to 2 weeks. So I was back at work, I would say 2 weeks after I was under the knife. Yeah, classes are great. Every semester I get a different group of kids from all different backgrounds, different disciplines, come from different areas. A lot of kids come from New York City or around there, so that's cool. They always bring a different perspective to the mix when we have class discussions. I think it's great. Any opportunity I have to work with young kids, especially kids that love music, I really I try to relish that and that. But I would say if I had to pick a passion, it would have to be private lessons, because not only do you get to work with people on an individual basis, but you also get to know them and establish a long-lasting relationship, which I think is very important in the arts, and help those people that you work with establish the same relationship with their art. And you get to teach them something that you just love and you know about. And I've spent so many years and so much time and thought and resources and energy trying to better myself with performing and making stuff sound better, and how to approach music, how to approach working in this discipline or that discipline. So I think about it all the time, just without thinking about it, just happens. So I think it's really important to be able to share that with people, and I just love doing it. So I'm so happy that I'm able to continue doing it, and people want to come to me and waste their time